Hello, our Point Siena families. Welcome to our curriculum night and some information about volunteering. I am Mrs. Denise Steffens, and I am our school counselor here at Point Siena, and proud to say this is my 26th year at Point Siena. And you know why? Because it's the best school in all of Collier County. And I'm also the volunteer coordinator. So I just wanted to share some information with you that was from the district. This is going to be a video explaining to you everything about the volunteering process. And of course, during these times, unfortunately, you can't be here at school with us, which we're very sad about, but you can support us from home. So please watch the next video, and I will share with you some more information afterwards. Thank you.
Welcome to the Volunteer Orientation. I am Valerie Wenrich. I'm the Executive Director of Human Resources for Collier County Public Schools. First, I'd like to start off by thanking you for all your support. Volunteers are like stars. You can't always see them, but you know they're always there. May you be proud of the work you do and the person you are and the difference that you make, because we know that volunteers make a difference every day. So our school board approved an administrative procedure 2430-01, which allows for volunteers in our schools, because we know that volunteers play an essential role in providing a quality education for all students. The district's goal is to provide a safe environment for students and staff while encouraging our parents, guardians, community members, students, and others to work as volunteers. And there are two criteria for which our volunteers shall be screened. One is the level of direct contact that they may have with students, and the other is the types of duties that our volunteers may perform. There are several different types of roles you can have within a school to support our students. One is a resource or guest speaker. This is anyone who speaks at a school function and is unpaid, but generates hours of volunteerism, but is really not subject to the volunteer procedure because it's maybe a 1 or 2 time situation in a school. We have visitors, and that's really anyone who comes onto school property but has not been assigned to any duties as a volunteer. And then, of course, we have our volunteers. These are any non-paid person who's appointed to perform assigned duties. These volunteers support district students and staff, and it may include parents, guardians, community members, students, and others who may assist teachers within the classroom or the school. The policy specifically excludes outside tutors, though, to whom a student may be referred to for remediation and other assistance. They would not be considered volunteers, and those hours would not be collected by the school. So we have 2 types of volunteers. We have a level 1 volunteer and a level 2 volunteer. A level 1 volunteer is someone who has contact with students, but in the presence of a district employee, and or is assigned duties such as an office assistant that may not be directly involved with students. Our level 2 volunteers do have direct contact with students under the guidance and direction of a district employee, or who is assigned duties to include, but certainly not limited to, tutoring, overnight chaperoning, supporting an athletic team under the guidance and direction of a certified coach, or long-term mentoring assignments. If you would like to be a level 2 volunteer, you first must be a current approved level 1 volunteer. You must obtain the volunteer authorization form shown here on the slide from your volunteer contact. And then you must make an appointment for fingerprints. Bring the authorization form with you, or have your volunteer contact at the school send it directly to the district volunteer specialist or contact. That will allow you to get your fingerprints taken and allow you to become a level 2 volunteer. So what can volunteers do? Well, they can do lots of things, and we appreciate their support. They can chaperone field trips, chaperone band, or support athletic coaches or events. They can support student learning at the direction of a teacher within a classroom, like reading groups. They can support the Media Center by shelving books, checkout, and cataloging of material. They can assist school-sponsored events like dances and other events. They can assist in the cafeteria, front office, production, school store, or virtual options as well. They could be a speaker to classes as an enrichment on a class topic or related experiences. But along with what volunteers can do, we have a list of what volunteers cannot do. And we really do not want volunteers assuming the responsibility for the supervision of a class in the absence of a certified teacher. We also do not want them assuming the responsibility of disciplining students or establishing instructional objectives. They should not be making decisions regarding the relevancy of certain activities or procedures to the attainment of instructional objectives. That is really the responsibility of the teacher. They should not be providing the initial instruction for accomplishing an instructional objective. They should not be making decisions regarding the appropriateness of certain teaching material or accomplishing instructional objectives. And they most certainly should not be contacting parents regarding the performance of students or writing comments on papers that go home. Remember, as a volunteer, you are there to support the instruction and the direction of a certified classroom teacher. There's lots of responsibilities for our volunteers, and we ask that they be dependable, confidential, they communicate, they follow school procedures and policies, they're honest, patient, flexible, consistent, and of course, friendly. And remember, volunteers, you should never be put in a place to have to enforce discipline. That is the responsibility of the teacher and or the administrator. So please notify a staff member immediately. Your appearance when you come to the school to volunteer should be professional and modest. You should abide by all CCPS dress code policies that we have established for students and staff. Clothing which advertises alcoholic beverages or contains obscenities or suggestive logos should not be worn on any school property or school-sponsored event or trip. Clothing that exposes the midriff, such as tube tops, crop tops, or halter tops, should not be worn. And undergarments must be worn at all times, and no ill-fitting clothing which exposes those undergarments is permitted. Again, your clothing should be professional and modest. Here's just a chart you can refer to that gives you a little example of what's acceptable and what is not acceptable for our professional dress. We're also worried about your health. If you are sick, you should stay home. That includes a cold, sore throat, cough, or fever. It is important that we try our best to prevent the spreading of germs to our students and staff. Students will be happy to see you when you are rested and healthy. There's also safety requirements within the building for our volunteers that you should be aware of. You should follow all safety rules set in place at the school or event for which you are volunteering. Know the emergency procedures and exits at the school or event location. And if an accident occurs, immediately notify a staff member and do not move or remove the students from an area. And remember, volunteers must have their CCPS badge while they are volunteering. This helps identify you as a volunteer on campus. There are some age requirements for our volunteers because we do like our students to come back and be volunteers with us. So students who have recently completed 8th grade and or high school freshmen will not be able to volunteer at any CCPS middle school for 1 year after the date of that completion of that year. To be eligible to volunteer within the middle schools will be granted once they have become academically classified as a high school sophomore. Students that have recently completed high school or graduates will not be able to volunteer at any CCPS high school for 1 full year after the graduation date. Eligibility to volunteer within the high school will be granted once they have completed this waiting period. So we love for our students to come back and support our middle school and high school students, but be mindful of the age requirements. There are several policies we want to make you aware of, and this one is the most important. This is our Standards for Ethical Conduct, Board Policy 3210. All of our employees are to adhere to the principles of professional conduct of the education profession in Florida. And there is a Code of Ethics brochure that is viewable on our webpage for your review. It is extremely important that we hold a high standard for our educational professionals and that we exercise our best professional judgment and integrity. Our instructors and our staff have an obligation to the students, the public, and to their own profession. Parents send their students to school and trust that we will keep them safe and we will support them and we will create a positive environment for them. The public trusts our district staff with the responsibility and the ethical management of district resources. As a volunteer, you should become very aware of the standards of ethical conduct, as you too have the trust of the students and parents and community in our classrooms. And remember, our district is one of the largest employers in Collier County. So if it's a slow news day, anything can become newsworthy. And any misconduct or perceived negative behavior by an employee or volunteer could be subject to a news article. Florida has very broad public record laws. And so any disciplinary documentation on a member of the public, parent, or student that has interacted with our district could become public record. So remember, volunteers, conduct yourself in a manner that is above reproach. So let's talk about what can get you in trouble. Social media, of course, because we know social media is not private or confidential. Inappropriate relationships with students can cause lots of trouble for volunteers. Your language and overall conduct, any policy violations, or neglect in reporting misconduct can get you in trouble as a volunteer. As a volunteer, you are a mandatory reporter. So behavior of the adult has consequences on our students. Those consequences can be long-term. It can lead to poor academic functioning, school dropout, violence, substance abuse, suicide, or lower educational or occupational attainment in our students. So be mindful of your actions and its impact on our students. Behavior indicative of misconduct should be reported. And you can see from this list, there are several things that if you feel uncomfortable, if you question the person's motives or actions, or if you're just simply unsure, apply that litmus test. Report it to the administrator of the building or to the classroom teacher. And those can be many different things, from chronically embarrassing a student, using forceful or unnecessary physical contact with students, and directing or using profane, offensive and explosive language in the presence of students, and many more. Again, apply the litmus test. If you feel uncomfortable, if you question the person's motives or actions, if you are unsure, please report it to the administrator or to the teacher of the classroom. Reporting allegations or suspicion of misconduct by an employee, a fellow volunteer, or a contractor goes to your school administrator. Report those allegations and suspicions of misconduct by your administrator to the Office of Human Resources. We will help you document and secure evidence if applicable. And if you are aware of or observe misconduct, report it immediately. So how do volunteers get removed? Well, we don't want to remove our volunteers. We want our volunteers continuing to support our students every day. But if volunteers do not conduct themselves in a professional manner, then they could be removed. Volunteers who act unprofessionally, fail to abide by Florida law and/or our CCPS board policies, or otherwise act in a manner contrary to the expectations of an employee of the district may be removed as an approved volunteer by the principal or by the district. Volunteers who fail to fulfill their duties may also be removed by the principal. But you do have some legal protection. If you are acting in a manner as a school volunteer who has been approved by the district, you shall incur no civil liability for any act or omission by the volunteer that results in personal injury or property damage if you as the volunteer were acting in a good faith within the scope of the official duties performed under each volunteer's service. So like we said, volunteers acting as an ordinary, reasonable, prudent person who would have acted under the same or similar circumstances and an injury or damage was not caused by any wanton or willful misconduct on the part of the volunteer in the performance of their duties, you are protected. We have a great volunteer website we want to draw your attention to, and that is at www.collierschools.com/volunteer. And on this volunteer webpage, you have access to the volunteer handbook, which contains much of this information for review. You also can update your volunteer application, and you should do that today. We have many volunteer opportunities, both virtual and in-person opportunities that we post throughout the year. And we also have an announcement section, which we update for special opportunities that may come up in our schools. So you are or you want to be a volunteer, complete that application online today. Contact the school volunteer contact so they know you are interested in volunteering at their school. Watch this volunteer orientation video or attend a school-based volunteer orientation. If you want to be a level 2 volunteer, make sure you obtain the signed authorization form from the school, bring it to HR, or scan the signed form to the district volunteer specialist so you can get your fingerprints done. You must make an appointment for fingerprints online, and there is a link on the volunteer website to schedule an appointment. And then once that is all complete, you need to get your picture taken so the school can submit for your badge. We want to thank you for all you do to support our students each and every day. We couldn't make it without you. Thank you, volunteers. Our district volunteer specialist is Kathy Macri. So if you have any questions or concerns, feel free to reach out to her. Thank you again and have a great year.
Hello again, Point Siena families. I hope you got a lot of information from that district video. And now I'm going to share some Point Siena specific things with you. If you would be so kind as to go on the Collier Schools website, and that is at www.collierschools.com. You go to the Community tab, and then How to Volunteer. And what we need you to do is complete that application online, submit it, and then you can start doing some volunteer work for us at home. That would be wonderful. So please do that. And part of you being accepted is completing the orientation videos. So I think you're partway there. So some ideas for things that you can do at home for our school. Teachers can get some things together for you that you can cut out. You can sharpen pencils. You can do some prep things for projects that they have going on in the classroom. Making flashcards. You can even record a read aloud story, which would be fun. You could also help them get ready some science experiments. So there are still lots of things that you can do, and we sure want you to remain a part of our school. And if you are a new parent to our school, we would love for you to help us out and get to know us a little bit, and hopefully someday in the future you'll be back here in person. You know, another great way to volunteer and actually get paid for it is to become a guest teacher. You'll see that information also in that same community tab on the district website. So go ahead and take a look at that. If you would like to be what we used to call a substitute teacher or a guest teacher now, then we would love to have you. We always need guest teachers here at our school. So please come be a part of our Point Siena family. And once you've completed the process, then we will get information that you have been accepted and approved, and then we will start putting you to work. So thank you all so much. Thanks for watching tonight, and thanks for taking a look at this video. We're also going to place it on our website. So if you go to collierschools.com, schools, and then Point Siena, you can get the information there again. Thank you so much. Take care, everyone.